have ahead of that was we got the beat, and that was courtesy of the Go-Go's and Los Lobos in the mix there with La Bamba, all that music trying to warm you up. It's a privilege this afternoon to have with us Alderman Felicity Purchase. She is with us on the other side of the Zoom interview, and she has kindly agreed to come and chat to us here this afternoon on Zone Radio. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon to you, Richard, and to all your listeners.
Thank you very much for joining us and being kind enough to do so. Folks, if you have any questions, hit us up on the WhatsApp 072-447-8044. But like I said, this is not about a bitching session. It's about any constructive questions that you may have to ask, and this lady will answer it. Felicity, before I even start, let me say that we're doing this not because of anything that I wanted to do or possibly anything that you wanted to do, but certainly by public demand. We've had a lot of people that have said, hey, this lady means a lot to us in the Valley, and she's straight, direct, and she answers the questions that we ask. She's done so much for everybody. What are the chances of getting her on the radio? And thank you, because I phoned your number and I was astounded that you actually answered it, which was a good start. So thank you for being here this afternoon. All right, may I call you Felicity?
Of course.
Okay, you can call me the Doctor, the Honorable, your Lordship, Your Highness.
Okay, take it away.
All right, let's start with the obvious questions. The COVID-19, people are wanting to know what the situation is regarding COVID-19 in the Valley in particular, the hospital, the state of the hospital. I've heard some stories out of there, which I'll share with you, where people are getting certificates without actually being tested. What's the situation as far as COVID-19 in the Valley?
So we do have quite a lot of positive cases. Massey is considered to be a hotspot at the moment because of the numbers of tested positive cases. But having said that, we need to also be quite clear that the reason we have those numbers is because we have been going to look for them. So as a case comes to light, we go out there and we screen, and we're very lucky to have a partner in Living Hope who are helping us and the clinics to screen all people that have come into contact with someone that's positive, and then just send whoever needs to go with symptoms to be tested, and give the others education on isolation and quarantine, etc. So Massey in the Valley is the highest number of cases, but we haven't really looked anywhere else, although we've started to look in Ocean View as well. And that's because of the densities. And also because the suburbs, if I can put it that way, have the luxury of being able to self-isolate in relative ease or comfort, whereas we don't have that luxury in either Massey or Ocean View. In Red Hill, for example, we've only had one positive case, and that was dealt with, and that gentleman's come out of it, and he's negative again. So we are trying to manage it as best we can. There is isolation, and everybody that's tested at False Bay certainly, and at any of the screenings and testings are offered the opportunity for either assistance with quarantine or isolation. Generally, they all want to go back home and they reckon they can manage, but it has become evident in some cases that they don't do that too well, and we've had the hospital intervene and ask for the Department of Health to provide isolation for those people, which we've done.
All right, so we've spoken about Massey and we've spoken about Ocean View, but what about sort of Sun Valley, the sort of general area? Do we have numbers on that, or the numbers easier to actually manage in an area like Massey and Ocean View, and less so in the suburbs?
So we do have numbers, but you know, and I've been reluctant to really put them out there because the numbers are not, they're not really a true reflection, because the testing is not coming back fast enough. I mean, it's taking between 9 and 14 days to get the results from the tests. And in that case, the person, by the time you've tested him, his infectious, contagious period is over almost. And so therefore the need for the quarantine or isolation is too late. The horse is bolted, you know, he's passed it on. So, but having said that, I can tell you that we've had cases in Noordhoek, we've had them in Capri, Sunnydale, Ferryno, Imhofsgift, even, in fact, we've had in one of the old age homes, we've got in Sun Valley, we've got in Clovelly, in fact, Fishhook itself, Cork Bay, Lakeside, Marina de Gama, so the Gama Park, Glencairn Heights. So there's been Komaki, there's been cases everywhere, but they have been limited, fortunately, because of the ability to self-isolate. They've been, and some of those, in fact, a large majority of those were people that came in from overseas and immediately sorted themselves out. So, and they have the luxury of that. They've got a spare room, or the couple goes into isolation together, and that's fine. So, so they have been spread across the entire far south, but the numbers have ranged between one incident in a suburb to possibly, if you take Fishhook Valley, which of course goes via the hospital, so the figures are not ideally accurate, you could have up to 20 odd.
Look, I've always maintained, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've always maintained that case count is not the number. Case count is always a function of how much testing has been done. The number that's vital is the number of people that have died. Do we have any deaths in the valley? Do we have a number on that, or is it that important to report that?
So, you know, interestingly, let me contextualize it first, in that we currently have less deaths in the city of Cape Town than we had prior to COVID-19. So, and of course,
okay.
And a large majority of those are because of the alcohol ban and the reduction in accidents and assaults.
Okay.
So, so I need to just put that in context. But we have had deaths. We've had, as far as I'm aware, we've had one at False Bay Hospital, and we've had one other that I'm aware of. It might be more, as I say, it's a moving target. But in those instances, there were comorbidities, and comorbidities is playing a large role in this.
Yeah, look, there's plenty of jokes doing the circuit, doing the rounds, like you fall out of an airplane and your parachute doesn't open, you died of COVID-19. And unfortunately, it's become that, don't you think? I mean, the numbers are changing so often, that the inputs and outputs in these models are changing so often. The other day, we heard that now from the World Health Organization, that if you're not symptomatic, if you're asymptomatic, then you can't pass on the virus, which would kind of negate all the face masks and everything else that we've done. So it must be very difficult for you guys in government, local government, and provincial government to actually keep tabs of what you should be reporting and where you should be focusing.
So to put it bluntly, where is the truth?
Yeah.
And I don't think we are getting the truth. Having said that, we have to take precautions, because on the slight chance that they told the truth, a very slight chance, we need to be prepared. And so we have went into isolation, we flattened the curve, we've prepared ourselves in terms of our medical ability to provide the care that is required. And now we wait. But in the meantime, people's lives have been turned completely upside down. The economy is in a desperate state. And so the question is, to be honest, only hindsight will tell us what was the right thing and what wasn't. But we have to do what we have to do. But yeah, you know, I don't know. It's a very interesting thing, because if you look at some of the things coming out of all over the world, in fact, anecdotal responses to the COVID-19, and other epidemiologists and authorities in that sector saying what should be used. I mean, medication is also another contentious issue. So I'm not an expert, but I do think that there definitely there are different sides to the story.
Yeah, I think it's going to be years from now before we actually understand what was the truth, and the big question, who benefited. But that is another one, and conspiracy theories will abound. But yeah, I feel for anybody who's having to make these decisions and having to make sure, in essence, that their backsides are covered. Because if you don't cover your backside, it's just that one thing that's going to catch you, and then everybody's going to jump onto that. So I do sympathize. Looking at the weather, we've seen, sorry, were we done with COVID-19, or you wanted to say something else?
No, I think that, but it is ironic that that you can die of a motor car accident or be born 2 months premature without lungs functioning, and you get called a COVID death. I mean, there are really some horror stories here. But be that as it may, let's move on to the floods.
Yeah, look, I think there is just my final word on it. There is some incentive for somebody somewhere, and I'm not going to go down that road, to make sure that these numbers stay where they are. And a lot of that has to do with how much power you can grab at this time and how much control you can have. But that's another conversation that we're not going to have this afternoon. The floods, we've had some horrible rains coming. Not horrible, great rains. We want the rains, but there's been some flooding going on. You said to me just before we came on air that you've been down in Massey. What's the situation down there, and maybe even Ocean View?
So, if I can say that the entire city has had floods, but let's talk about Massey, because Massey has a large community that's very vulnerable, and they have built shacks in a wetland, and when you're going through 5-8 years of drought, you don't notice that it's a wetland so much as when the rains come. And we have got a project to upgrade that area, which I can talk about in a minute, but there has been some substantial flooding, and I was down there yesterday and now again today. We have got soup kitchens operating in the entire Massey and Ocean View for that matter, and Red Hill, but handing out blankets, warm blankets, and warm clothes, because when your house is leaking, you really don't have anything to keep you warm after that, because your bedding, everything's wet. So we are giving out, and I did put out a call for some blankets and warm clothes, and we've been receiving some great stuff, and we've handed it out yesterday and today again.
Okay,
and I'm sure they'll be longer. Just
on that, where can people take blankets if they want to? Let us know, and we can put that word out for you.
Okay, well, Living Hope is always open for donations for us 24/7. 365 days a year, and of course, otherwise, if it's inconvenient, we can fetch, but the fire stations or the sub-council office in Fisher will also receive on our behalf.
Okay, so the sub-council office, fire station, Living Hope, we'll put that message out there and see if we can't get people warm blankets. You said you've got some plans that you're working on, upgrades that you're working on for Massey Phumelele?
So the wetland area, because of its position geographically and it being virtually below sea level, has been a difficult area for people to live in, and we are unable to service in terms of flush sanitation and electricity, and that because first of all it's below the line of the gravitational sewer that goes to Wilderful Play there at the back, and a pump station. There's not enough space to build a pump station to pump it up to the Masimola Road and then down into the gravity sewer. So we've spent some time trying to figure out how the hell we solve that. And we've got a program which is, there is an unmade road that runs at the back of Massey. Before Massey was even demarcated, there was a road proclaimed called Homewood Road, and you know the first section is near Shorty's at Nordic Main Road, and then it ends at the Carlton Road views, and then and now we've picked it up on the other side of Fishingle Park into Cormack Road again. So there is a demarcated or proclaimed road behind there, although it's been very contentious and hasn't been built. It was DIA was put in some time ago, 1999 I think, and it was turned down or thereabouts. But we've divided it into two stages, into a phase 1 and a phase 2, and the section behind Massey's phase 2, and we received a positive EIA for that now just recently before the lockdown. So what that will allow us to do is to upgrade the area, to bring in fill, to build that section of road, which will allow us to have access for, well, for anybody, but also for emergency vehicles in the when there's fires and things. But it gives us the opportunity to actually grid that area, fill it by 1.5 meters or more of soil or fill, and then put in mainline sewers and electricity poles and the like. So that's a very exciting project. Unfortunately, it takes too long for the community to really be satisfied, but it is moving forward, and it's been an ongoing project for about 2 years now. The EIA has now finally been approved, and so the detailed design will start. And then I think that will allow, and we've just built the phase 4 houses, or a portion of the phase 4 houses, which is on the left-hand side going down Homewood Road. And that was in the region of about 258 odd houses. And the people that have moved into those houses have created spaces within the wetland area where they moved from. And we've tried to bring the people from the very wet area as far north as you get, and bring them back into the higher lying area, although it's all pretty wet today.
Yeah.
So we're on that. We're doing that, and then what we'll do is we'll build a temporary relocation area, move the people across into that space, do a section at a time, and then move them back, and we'll be able to build proper houses in that instance afterwards. So that's an exciting project, and I think that there is enough space and enough opportunity to provide all the existing people with some housing opportunity.
And Ocean View, are there developments going on in Ocean View? Because of the two, you find often Massey gets the focus, and Ocean View sometimes almost the country cousin in the perception of the public. Is that a correct perception, one? And are there things going on there?
You know, I think it's not entirely correct. You know, it certainly is a perception. It's without a doubt a perception. And of course, Ocean View is 60 years old and Massey is 20 odd. So there's a difference. Ocean View has a lot more established services than what Massey has, if you want to put it in that context. But Ocean View, in the last period of our tenure, has just seen the building of what they call Mountain View, and we call what we call Mountain View, and they call Stonehaven. But it's the face brick houses at the back, and that was the people that were moved out of the bush into temporary prefab houses on the road, Suncorp Road. 25 odd years ago, we finally built houses for them, and that was a 600 odd houses project. So it's a massive project, and there's still a lot of work to be done. There are some infill sites which we are looking at now, of building additional properties or selling off to the market. And but in terms of housing, Ocean View has certainly, if I can say, caught up in terms of the new housing build.
Right, so there's a lot going on there, and I know that you've got a lot on your plate, and I'm not going to hold you for much longer. You've got, add to this, you've got the whole transport and thing going on as well at the city. So you're a busy lady, and the fact that you have found time to speak to us here this afternoon speaks to the person that you are and the commitment that you have to this area and the longevity, your long service. I mean, there's a reason why you are called the Alderman. Am I right? Am I wrong? It's time.
Well, so actually, it's not about age. Okay, I don't want to make that point. It's not about age. But it is about, it's about years of service and the level at which that service was. Yes.
And it has been, it's been amazing. I have personal experience. I phoned you once with a water issue, and within 15 minutes, there were some very, very, very busy guys outside sorting the water out. And it's about that I want to speak as we wrap up this afternoon. I've had messages come up here. None of them really questions, I think, because people knew where we were going with this conversation. But there are a couple of thank yous. You know, one of them and two of them, they want to remain nameless. One doesn't want to remain nameless. They're the guys that share the premises with us here, Tritel TV. people who approached you during this lockdown period and who needed to trade in order to feed their families, and how you helped them without breaking the rules. And I need to establish that, without breaking the rules, how you managed to help them to get permits, to put them in a position where they could operate and give them the guidelines under which they could operate. The fact that you stepped up to the plate for these people speaks volumes, and they wanted me to thank you for that.
It's only a pleasure. I think it was tragic that so many people were out of work, and where they could work under the regulations, in a broad interpretation, I think we needed to allow them to work and assist them to work, yes.
And the reason that they were able to do that was simply because you have, as you always have done, remained accessible to the people of this valley. And today is yet another example of that accessibility. We look forward to doing these going forward. I hope you're comfortable with them. We'll have them a bit more structured in the future. But if you're happy to do these on a once a month, once every 6 months, depending on your schedule, we're very happy to do that. And I want to thank you this afternoon for taking the time to speak to our listeners here in the Valley via Zone Radio.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm happy to speak to you at any time. We'll just find a slot that's convenient. I'm happy to do this.
Thank you very, very much, Felicity. That's Felicity Purchase, and people have got your number. You don't need to give your number unless you want to, but people know how to get hold of you because, go on, give it.
Yeah, well, it's the life of Google. You can Google it, but it's 083-629-0829. But if I don't answer, please just WhatsApp me, because if I'm busy, then I will get back to the WhatsApps either during the meeting where I'm bored, or otherwise when I have time.
And she does, folks. I phoned, and to me that was the great start. When you answered the phone and said Felicity, I said, my goodness, she actually answered the phone, because that doesn't often happen. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon, and we look forward to the next one.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
It's a Felicity Purchase. If you want to get hold of her, she gave you the number. Otherwise, you can Google her, and you can make sure that you speak to the lady. She gets things done, and that's what I've heard anyway. She keeps on trucking, as Eddie Kendrick says.